now. Cool. So I guess we're back on another conversation. I know this time we'll try to keep this one pretty brief. I know the last couple of ones have been about 30 minutes to an hour. We'll try to shoot for that. But I know this time around you wanted to speak specifically about certain things. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember you showed me an article about Chainlink because you thought that was a really good crypto to be in for the long term. And I just wanted you to kind of go through the article, explain, because everything is still kind of techy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's the thing about Chainlink is the fact that that coin it solves a very boring problem in the eyes of like it's not a sexy problem that they're solving,
Mhm.
and how they solve it is very technical. So you can kind of get lost in the jargon of what's kind of going on. So I'll be happy to kind of share my screen here.
Okay.
Do this. You can see my screen. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So here's the article right here um, by Abstraction Capital, which is an asset management firm, I assume. I don't really know too much about them, but this is a obviously 53-page article, fairly long. Oh, shit. Fairly long. It breaks down DeFi, Bitcoin, Ethereum, bull case on Ethereum, which is probably really important to be reading now as well, in my opinion, with ETH 2.0 kind of coming around the corner. And then this deep analysis into Chainlink. You can see here that like Chainlink looks like has the most information
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of there.
Right.
So we can kind of start here. The way to understand Chainlink is kind of going back to this notion that blockchains inherently don't like automatically accept data for their smart contracts. So you have to upload data. Um, and the issue with that is that if the data that is being entered into the blockchain or the smart contracts is fraudulent, false, or untruthful, now you're operating transactions off of false data, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you can see where that problem kind of arises.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's exactly what Chainlink is trying to solve. They're basically creating the first mechanism to verify truth, like what is true data and what that actually means. Um, does that kind of make sense there?
I think so. So true data meaning that it is, I guess, what would be a good way to describe true data?
Yeah, sure. So let's say weather data, right?
Mhm,
There's many different agencies that measure weather data in, let's say, Africa. Okay.
mhm,
Um, and you're a small African farmer farming in Africa, and your crops in your like yield of crops is you're very dependent on it, right? Like it's make or break whether your family's going to eat or starve during this harvest, and it's really important to you. So you buy an insurance policy. This insurance policy states that if the weather or if there was like um, a below a certain amount of inches of rain during this season, that you would
mhm,
receive X dollars to compensate for the fact that you may have not yielded as much food to so that you can survive, right? It's a basic
mhm,
insurance policy. So if you're just relying on one firm for data
mhm.
from the insurance company, you may be running into a situation where, well, like, how do I really know that that weather data that it didn't rain 3 inches during this season? Like, how do I really know that so I can automatically pay this person and make sure that they are telling the truth and the data that's being provided to me is the truth?
Mhm.
Well, the Chainlink will take um, data inputs from all of these other sources and verify that, okay, this source said 3 inches. This source said less, or this source said less than 3 inches. This source said less than 3 inches, and all these other data agencies said less than 3 inches in this area. And
Mhm.
then that is truthful data, right? Because there's multiple sources verifying that that data is accurate,
Okay.
and then it can operate once it's uploaded onto a blockchain. Then it can execute the smart contract to pay out that farmer
Okay,
for
that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So you can kind of see that obviously weather data and farming, it's not necessarily a small issue. It's actually a very, very large issue that was one of the first use cases for Chainlink, with insurance policies and things of that nature. But it can get much bigger than that. Like, let's say life insurance, right?
Mhm.
Another, like you can prove that somebody's dead by a death certificate. And then
Right.
multiple agencies can prove that, hey, this person is no longer living, this, that, and the
Mhm.
third. And then the family automatically gets executed on the blockchain
Mhm.
and gets their settlement, right?
Okay.
It eliminates time. It makes, that process
Right.
very seamless, and super easy.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The big thing here is that it's not a blockchain, right? It's what's called like an Oracle network.
Mhm.
Um, so you can see, let's see. Hmm. We won't break into that image because it doesn't necessarily, kind of explains a little bit like data inputs and things of that nature.
Right.
Um, there are some. Okay. See, like Chainlink has a monopolized on the middleware space. So the space that they operate in is like they're in the middle of real world data
Mhm.
and the blockchain. Um, and they are complete, like I told you this earlier. The reason why I love Chainlink so much is because literally they are the biggest, um, they're solving one of the biggest problems in the space. The problem that they solve, you if you believe in blockchain and believe in the currency, or the technology, um, being adopted on a mass scale, it
Mhm.
doesn't work without Chainlink. It literally doesn't. Everything pretty much runs on Chainlink. Outside world data is going to need to be put onto the blockchain. Um, and all different types of use cases will come out of it because Chainlink verifies data. And we don't even realize it, right? And they're literally the only person. They completely monopolize the space. There's a really good chart here. Let me see if I can find it. This is their competitors. This is Chainlink and the integrations that they have, 1,200 plus. The
Mhm.
next closest has 84. 84. So it's like not even close. Like the second person that's in the space doesn't even come close to what they're actually able to do.
Right.
Um, and some of the key partnerships that Chainlink, or some of the partnerships that Chainlink has from a global standpoint is just absolutely massive. They have this system called Swift, which is
Right.
the international banking system, that they've partnered with and they'll be working with. The main argument for a lot of people when it comes to this coin is
Mhm.
the fact that it just like moves sideways and doesn't really do much, right? Like we can look at the chart here and I could show you it. Yeah, this is Chainlink right here. So you can see that it's like $15. I mean, it did have this huge initial spike up here,
Mhm.
and that was like
Right.
retail FOMO. But for the most
Uh-huh.
part, you see like these long sideways,
Boring.
yeah, boring. Like, yeah, it goes up a little bit, but then now it's back down and it's kind of
Yeah.
sideways, kind of floating in this like little channel right here. The thing that people have to understand with this is that retail individuals like you and I, investors, are not the ones that buy these tokens and utilize these tokens the way they should be utilized. It's data providers. So the Googles, the YouTubes, the Amazons, the Apples of the world, they'll be the ones paying for this truthful data and utilizing the Chainlink network, um, to execute on smart contracts with their data that they
Mhm.
have. Um, so, in my opinion, how I look at it is because there's not much adoption, via, like you can see in the price chart here, there's not much adoption going on. What's really happening is that this is just retail playing in this space right now. This
Okay.
reminds me a lot like Bitcoin back in 2017 when it just had this huge run up. And then it was like
Mhm.
2 years, it was just like this, just like this. I remember seeing this chart like almost identical. And then all of a sudden, people starting adopting it, and then just shot up to places that people never even thought that were imaginable, right?
Right.
Um, so it's very important. It's not necessarily, it's an institution's coin. And that's where, hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of dollars will flood into this ecosystem that's being built.
Mhm.
And it's like a cascade effect, in my opinion. Like it's not a quote unquote good coin or a fast moving coin until it is.
Mhm.
And then when you realize that it is, it's almost you like miss the ship, you know?
Right.
So
Makes sense.
there's much more that this project can do for the space other than just like verifying data. But from this keeping it as simple as possible, that's what it does. And when it has such a giant like it's like a castle with a giant moat with
Right.
alligators and electric fencing all around it. It's almost like impenetrable, right? So when a business has that with clear ways of generating revenue, you can look. Like I said, I won't go into every single detail of how they're gonna be making money. You could definitely read over this article and see it yourself.
Mhm.
But you can see here their revenue and the way that they make money scales exponentially as they grow and as smart contracts grow. So this opportunity is just
Massive.
yeah, it's massive in my opinion. I've been buying for a really long time, dollar cost averaging into it. But these days I'm just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and staying in stables
Mhm.
so that I can kind of I need to personally work on my risk assessment on certain things. So I'm trying to be a little bit more, not necessarily safe, because I'm still like risk on, like trying to
Yeah,
get
you're
ahead.
young. Mhm.
But at the same time, I also want to be responsibly risky, you know?
Right.
I think there's a way to do that. So does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Now, there are other coins that I know, or you wanted me to kind of break down like some other top coins too, right?
Yeah. But before we go there, let me ask you a question. I've
Sure.
always had this question. What exactly is a smart contract?
Yeah. So all it is that it is a piece of code. It's like an if. Okay, so I took computer science for a little bit,
Mhm.
failed it miserably, but I understood like a very basic concept that I was introduced to very early on. They're called if then statements, right?
Mhm.
If this happens, do this. Very
Right.
simple, right? Very straightforward. So all that smart contracts are if then statements. If
Oh,
my
okay.
brother does X, then pay me this, right? So
Mhm.
it's like automating the contracting system and taking out the emotion in a contract, like an agreement between two parties, and
Mhm.
replacing it with code so that both parties can
Oh, I
interact with one
see.
another and
Okay.
say, these are the terms, these are the agreements, we're both accepting these. If this executes, it'll automatically execute, and I can't say anything about it. It's
I see.
automatically going to happen.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So, that's it's arguably the smart contract is the blockchain is the technology, like the rails for smart
Mhm.
contracts to interact with individuals. That's how I look at it. And the real technology, the blockchain and smart contracts are just two things that I personally believe um, will revolutionize the way that we do things. And that's probably like somebody may hear this and be like, oh yeah, like it is what it is. But like this is just as big as the internet being created. Like
I
this is
agree. Yeah.
This is so huge, especially the fact that we're living through a complete financial rebuild. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of shady shit going on in not only this space but like the world in general. And I think I think crypto truthfully is almost bigger than just like money. It's truly freedom. Freedom from anything, any power that rises that tries to control you or anything along those lines. So it's much deeper to me personally. And I'm still like examining this within myself to kind of really like clearly articulate this. But yeah. So crypto is and I'm sure you kind of share these same feelings. Like I think crypto is really big.
Yeah, I think we're still at the very, very beginning stages of adoption. Now, another question I have, keep going down that rabbit hole here. So what are Rails?
Yeah. So just like I mean, like with Visa, MasterCard, anything like that, they are like like ways for data to to move from one party to another. So
Okay.
Visa will send the data that you spent X dollars, obviously encrypted, but to
Mhm.
Wells Fargo so they could deduct the amount of money that you take. And they're acting like it's a railway system, is how I kind of look at it.
Okay,
That may
that's
not
kind
be
of what I
like,
thought,
yeah, that may not be like technically accurate, but
right?
that's just kind of
It's a
how
way to transport from point
exactly.
A to point B. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I've said in the past, I think this Chainlink at 24, like I've starred a bunch of coins that I have in my portfolio that I personally look at because if you look at these and try to say like Tether is the third best cryptocurrency, it's not necessarily like this is not telling the truth. Like these rankings don't tell
Right.
the truth. There are coins in the top 10 that are in the top 25 that will not exist, just like, early .com days. Like there's things that
Hmm.
were huge back in the early .com
Yeah.
that are not a thing anymore. Um,
Right.
so my thing is I try to cut through the noise and focus on like what's actually valuable. Because at the end of the day, money always flows to the top. The top dogs in
Hmm.
any industry, over a longer period of time, if you control your market and control it really well and your use case very well, money flows into those places. So with that assumption, right, Bitcoin, the store of value play, like they are the
Hmm.
store of value coin. Money will flow there because they are the clear cut winner.
Right.
Ethereum, the smart contract platform. Yes, are there flaws? Absolutely. Is there going to be other chains that exist? Absolutely. Um, but money will flow and it'll continue to grow in size. Like I think
Hmm.
Bitcoin, this is an $800 billion coin, at least 10 trillion by the end of the decade. Um,
Yeah.
which is not like which sounds crazy, but gold is 12 trillion. So all that Bitcoin is a replacement for gold.
Digital gold.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ethereum, that's multi-trillion dollar coin in the future.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
no questions asked because everything is done on Ethereum. Um, now there are other chains and stuff like that I do like. I don't necessarily dive into their ecosystems too much.
Hmm.
Um, but at the end of the day, I try to keep it super simple. I dollar cost average into the coins that I believe have set themselves apart in their industry
Hmm.
and just have conviction that they'll be continuing to improve and do better over time.
Hmm.
Um, Chainlink, you can see $7 billion in market cap, which is, I mean, $7 billion is a lot of money, but it's in the grand scheme of things of what the size of the market that they are after.
Hmm.
That's not a $7 billion coin. That is a multi-trillion-dollar coin off of the problem they're solving.
Yeah.
And that's if you just do the like we can just do the math, right? Like Um, I'm gonna pull up a calculator. Actually, I can just do it here. So 7,000, 700,000. What's that? 700 million?
7 billion, I think.
No, that's 7 billion.
Wait, one, two,
Yeah, that's 7 billion. Okay,
yeah,
7 billion. Oh, I should have done 1 trillion.
7 trillion.
Yeah, let's see. I'm over here just messing up on stuff. Okay, it's 1 million, 1 billion, 1 trillion. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay, so that's $1 trillion. Divide that by 7 billion. Yeah, this is so that's in theory if it goes to $1 trillion, if or when, right, it goes to $1 trillion. It's
Mhm.
142x because these coins, this coin right here, if you look here, it's capped. It's a capped supply, so it's non-inflationary. It'll never exceed 1 billion coins in circulation. You take 142 times 15.42. It's an estimated price of $2,202.
Hmm.
Just based on it going from where it is now to $1 trillion asset, which obviously will take a very long time. But you can
Right,
see that when money floods into the system, it's going to be so fast that people aren't going to be able to really understand, like, whoa,
hmm.
this is big. So
Okay.
does that seem like it seems kind of crazy, huh? Like a $15 coin, then I'm predicting it could be two
Well,
thousand.
no, because if it's going to be utilized by all the big corporations to create smart contracts, because that's what it's going to be used for, right?
Yeah, verify data for smart contracts.
Okay. Unless there's another competitor, which we know right now there isn't, and it's going to be a long time. It will be a really uphill battle for a competitor to come into the marketplace and compete. I don't think that's undoable.
Yeah, I feel like with this, it's one of those things where they were the first mover. They built the right connections. Their leadership is extremely strong. They have leadership from Google, like large corporations. Their CEO and founder has been in blockchain since like 2014. Sergey Naragov or something like that. I don't know. He's Russian or something, but extremely intelligent guy. When you hear this guy talk, you can tell, like, wow, he's one of the geniuses on this planet right now.
Hmm.
Um, and that's another thing, right? When you see these coins, it's really important to never bet against a genius, right? Like, who
Right,
are these people that are working on this? Are they You can tell a genius from a non-genius, right? Like
right.
an intelligent human being, you can just be like, okay, that person is on an absolute different level. Um,
Like Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, great example. Like, you're not you're not going to sit here and tell me Elon Musk isn't one of the smartest people on the planet, because he clearly
Right.
is, right? Like, the things
Yeah.
he's working on are so much harder than anything you and I will ever do in our life, and that's totally fine. Um, the guy that's working on Ethereum,
Mhm.
Vitalik Buterin. If you've ever seen Vitalik talk, Vitalik is literally a genius. Like, he's otherworldly of how smart he is. And yeah, though, I mean, that's what I normally tell people. I say never bet against geniuses, and stick with personally my strategies: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, and continue to do that. And then, off of the notion that, hey, money will flow to the top.
Right,
If I continue to bet on the winners will pay.
right.
Now, obviously, I have some coins. that are way down here on the spectrum, like the way out of risk type situations that I am excited for, and the things that they're doing are really exciting.
Like which ones?
Yeah, so two of them are on the screen right there. So, okay, this one, Stacks,
Mhm,
is a coin that brings, so right now Bitcoin is very slow, very clunky, not really much that can go on with
mhm,
Bitcoin as because it is a store of value, right? Its
mhm,
use case makes it so that transaction, it's not necessarily meant to be a currency. Stacks is a platform just like Ethereum, just like Solana, AVAX, these smart contract platforms, but Stacks is built on Bitcoin. So it's allowing for decentralized finance, smart contracts, and all those things to exist on Bitcoin. And yeah, so I have a pretty large portion, not a large. I have a pretty good amount of stacks. I do believe in this. It is a 1.3 billion dollar coin right now. Another thing that's
mhm.
also kind of keeping in mind when you look at these coins, it doesn't show it here, but I'll show you in a second with some of these things. But stacks is something I'm interested in. Synapse is a really good coin. How big it gets, I don't necessarily know, but people working here are extremely smart. Essentially, what it does, it allows you to transfer money from one network on your wallet. So let's say, um, here I can just go into the app to kind of explain this because it kind of gets super technical at certain points. So it's a bridge, right? A bridge
Mhm,
just basically means I can move US dollars or USDC from the Ethereum blockchain to the Terra blockchain, right? And I can just
mhm.
continue to swap these coins between blockchains. Now, this just is just one of these most fast ways of being able to do this. Like usually this process is very clunky, very
Yeah,
slow, and
because usually you have to liquidate one currency into another, like USDT or
yeah,
USDC, and then bring that to a different, correct me if
yeah.
I'm wrong,
You gotta
to a
go, you
different,
gotta go, like let's say if I had like, well, so this only moves like certain coins. So if I wanted to move Ethereum, right? Like
mhm,
one Ethereum to um let's say Phantom,
mhm,
right? So I can take my Ethereum, the process like this,
mhm,
if I wanted to move, or the actual process, if I were to flip this, right? If I wanted to go from Phantom to Ethereum and
mhm.
move my Ethereum, usually if I use just a regular bridge to move it back, it would take 7 days for it to execute.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, so it would take a week, and that's like torture, right? So
Mhm,
whenever you go from like, and then when you go from like a layer one to a layer two, right? So if I
mhm,
wanted to go layer two, just means that transactions are faster, more scalable. There's a different mechanism on the back end. Smart contract rise. It's just like super technical. I don't necessarily understand all of it, but all I know is that it just makes things faster and cheaper.
mhm.
But if you wanted to go from layer two back to layer one for anything, it would take 7 days. Like moving
Wow.
Ethereum from
Hmm.
Arbitrum back to Ethereum mainnet will take 7 days to do. So Synapse solves that problem, makes it pretty much instantaneously, takes about 10-15 minutes to get there rather than 7 days. So you can clearly see the value in that. I've used that
So
a couple.
are
What's
they
that?
going to start Synapse? Are they going to start adding more and more
Chains. I mean,
available? Yeah.
as they grow, as more chains kind of come on. Yes,
Mhm,
I'm not. So my thing is like when I get out of these three,
mhm,
it's more of like it, how I look at it is I would rather risk on the winners that have already proven themselves, because I don't know if Synapse will exist 10 years from now. Like, I don't know if that'll
Mhm.
be needed, right?
Mhm.
Um, people may not, or whatever the case may be. It's probably going to still be needed, but I just don't. I'd rather make the bets on the clear cut winners, because
Yeah.
I don't necessarily follow too much. If I follow too much, then if I put my eggs into all these baskets, with not necessarily like huge amounts of money, right? Like, I'm
Mhm.
still not rich or anything like that, but um, then it's like the returns aren't as big. But if I'm concentrated and I know what I know, and I
Yeah.
have conviction on the things that I see and see them all the way through,
Mhm.
that's where the massive returns kind of come in. So,
Right.
you
You
know,
don't want to spread your investments too thin
yeah,
between too
exactly.
many.
I'm not at the stage of my life where I need to diversify. I'm a
Mhm.
conviction investor, so I can put my eggs into a couple of baskets and really just bet that those baskets are going to be good
Mhm.
based on the research I've done, and just sit back and chill, right? So,
Right.
um, let's see. Stacks, Synapse is really good. Um, there's other platforms too, like obviously OpenSea has competitors. Looks Rare is a competitor to OpenSea. Do I own their coin anymore? No, because I was airdropped coins from them.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't necessarily buy airdrop tokens. So
Right.
Magic is another really good one. Um, they are like the OpenSea, but for layer two. So um, a layer two solution. And let me know like if any of this is going over your head or anything like that. Layer two solution called Arbitrum. This is the main marketplace where people can buy and sell NFTs.
Mhm.
One that I'm super big on right now is JPEG. This one is gonna be really, really interesting to watch,
What is
because
it? Mhm.
yeah, because this allows for like large NFTs
Mhm.
to, like, for people, if they turn them into productive assets, right? So let's say you have a board ape. Uh, let's say you have a board ape. Let's let this load really quick. Look at that, so slow. Gotta love the internet out this way. Okay. Board Ape Yacht Club. Okay. You have a board ape. It's valued at 111 ETH,
Mhm.
right? It's a lot of fucking money. It's so crazy. I remember seeing that at like less than one. Like,
Yeah, that's
it's so
amazing.
wild. Yeah, so wild. Um, so 111 ETH is $361,000 that you can sell that
Mhm.
for.
Mhm.
But let's say you only own one and you don't want to sell. Like, you enjoy the community, you just don't want to sell your NFT, right? You don't want to be out of the NFT, you don't want to be out of the
Mhm.
NFT. Um, and yeah. So what JPEG is going to be able to do is that an individual will be able to provide their NFT as like
Mhm.
collateral, and they'll be
Mhm.
able to borrow against that. So let's say like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's like a cash out refi, right?
It's like a pawn shop.
Yeah, essentially, right? So that NFT is worth 111 ETH to $360,000, and let's say
Right.
you can get a 25% loan to value loan,
I
and
see.
they would provide liquidity for you, so they give you $90,000 with an interest rate. The $90,000 is just like a loan agreement, right? They're gonna go less than fifty
Right.
percent of the total asset value that you can borrow against. You get this $90,000 tax
Mhm.
free, because borrowing against an asset is a non-taxable event, and
Mhm.
then all you do is just pay an interest rate, and you can do whatever you want with that money. You can make another investment,
Mhm.
um, or whatever, right? You pay off the loan, and then you get to keep your
Mhm.
NFT. If you
Right.
default on the loan, they keep
They
the
keep it.
NFT, and then they can
Mhm.
sell it for way more than what they bought it for, essentially, with the money, right? So
Mhm.
uh, I think that this is a really big opportunity, something I'm obviously in, have been in since pretty much day one.
Hmm.
Um, and then let's see here. Once you get out here towards like the risk curve, like just exponentially goes up. This is
Right.
an insurance company that's utilizing Chainlink's data and providing insurance policies to farmers in Africa.
Hmm.
They're actually pretty successful at doing it, but you can see like this coin is 4 cents
Yeah.
and it's a $9 million market cap, and this is what it's been doing for the last year. Like it just got pumped unbelievably, and then pretty much just boom downhill from there. So the further you get out on these on this site
Mhm.
from those big three that I kind of mentioned,
Mhm.
the more risk you take on. So
Yeah.
that's what I look at, and that's what I see.
And that's where they're pennies.
Yeah, yeah,
That was helpful.
absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, my strategy is kind of not necessarily like too crazy when it comes to the coins. I'm
Mhm.
very slow at making investments into new coins. Um,
Good.
I need to apply that to NFTs if I'm being honest. But if I'm being even more honest, NFTs is more fun than just coins, um, to me personally. And we were talking about this earlier. NFTs are just a whole other ball game when it comes to risk. If you really don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
you get scammed. I told you my friend got scammed today, right?
Yeah.
It sucks so bad.
How much did he lose?
It wasn't much, if I'm being completely honest, but he did lose a rare NFT, um, like a top 1,000 on a 10,000 collection. So like
Oh, that's too
a
bad.
top 7%. Yeah, does suck, but you know,
He lost potential gains
exactly.
quite a bit.
You can't really be mad at that. And I mean, like you can and you should, but it just goes to show that like you have to just be really careful on what you're clicking on and
Right.
where you're getting information, because there are evil people out here that will take your money, and it's up to you. The power in crypto is that you become your own bank, and it's up to you
Right.
to be able to
Secure your own money.
and secure your own financial future, right? Like
Yeah.
it's uh it's on you, which is like empowering but also scary at the same time.
It is
Empowering,
very scary.
yeah, because you have
There's no
there's like
insurance.
and there's this like interesting layer of like, who do I trust or what do I
Yeah.
trust? And just to tie it back into what we were talking about, where Chainlink is really big, right? They
Mhm.
make information trustworthy. They can make the internet and data that we see trustable, right? Let's say a political news outlet starts uploading um, like articles on what's going on in the world or whatever.
Mhm.
If other articles are saying that their data is off or whatever the case may be, we'll be able to in the future flag something like that and say this is not truthful. There is
Right.
information in other sources telling us that what you're saying is false news, right? So there's also projects out there that are working on eliminating fake news, which is super exciting. So
Yeah. It is super exciting. We need that.
yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it I wanted to talk about. I'll stop the recording now.